Hey, what's up guys? It's Gracie. So I'm back on YouTube because I'm taking an Instagram break. It feels pretty awkward to be filming myself, but I want to stay present a little bit in the social media community. So I figured this would be a good time to utilize some of Griffin's nap times to get back involved here and answer some questions that I've been holding on to for a year from a postpartum Q&A. So I'm just, I've got some other videos that I want to do. One is going to be an EC story, elimination communication, how we potty trained Griffin at 14 months, and the story on how we did it. It's really easy and simple, and I'm excited to share that with you guys. And then how to obtain a birth certificate, social security number, and passport for unassisted childbirth. And then maybe some other videos after that. I am currently 22 weeks pregnant with our second boy. I'm really excited. And yeah, there was a lot of negativity on Instagram, and I thought it would be really smart for me to get off of there and not be reading that stuff and to just keep the rest of this pregnancy stress-free. So, all right, I'm gonna get started with the questions. Do you notice a decrease in milk supply whenever you're on heavier lifting days? No, I wouldn't have known really anyways because I never pumped or measured the output of my milk. So I just, I was still nursing Griffin just as much, and I don't think he got any less milk on those days. But I don't really know because I wasn't measuring it. I think unless you're doing weighted feeds, that's probably the only accurate way to measure it anyways, because you can't really measure milk output by pumping. Because a baby drains a breast a lot more efficiently than a pump. Okay, and for the record, I'm not nursing Griffin a lot anymore. My milk dried up about 3 months ago, and so I'm dry nursing here and there for comfort or for sleeping, but he's getting a lot of bottles of plant-based milk, goat's milk, chamomile tea with honey, different stuff. As long as it's warm and he can latch on to it, he doesn't really care what's inside. So, okay. Are you on a program or are you just working out for health? So mind you, these questions were a year ago. And whenever I first got back in lifting, no, I wasn't on a program. I was just lifting for fun, for myself. Whenever Griffin was 11 months old, his dad and I trained for a meet together and we competed. We actually conceived the next baby on the day of the meet. That was, yeah, so I never thought I would do another powerlifting meet again, but it was really fun to train for a meet. And so about 3 or 4 months before that, actually probably about 2 months before that, I was training more specifically for those 3 lifts. Although, other than some running that I did in the first few months postpartum, it's just been kind of light cardio and mostly powerlifting with a conjugate-based style program, which is how I've always trained. So I guess, yeah, it's been on a program, but nothing set in stone, other than that meat prep. Okay, there was a lot of questions on EC, and that's why I'm going to do a separate video on it, on why Griffin is not, why I wasn't using diapers. But for the record, I was using diapers. We were just potty training him at the same time. Okay, how do you go against the grain despite so much external pressure? Honestly, I haven't felt hardly any external pressure. I think the only pressure that I felt really, I mean, maybe from my mom whenever I told her that I was gonna have a free birth with Griffin. So this is a long time ago, and I thought she would be really on board because she had home birth and she had a natural birth with us triplets, but she wasn't. She really wanted us to have a midwife there, and I ended up just lying to her and telling her that we were going to have a midwife until I was further along into the pregnancy than I told her. It wasn't really pressure, but that was kind of the only pushback I got. Other than that, I got a lot of positivity and a lot of encouragement and support when sharing about it. And yeah, nobody really gives me a hard time for going against the grain on the other stuff. I just get a lot of support from the people who are doing the same thing, and I'm pretty fast to block and delete comments whenever I see stuff I don't like on my Instagram, so, but it's not often that I do that. Maybe it's because people know that I'm gonna do that, so they don't post that stuff there. Okay. Okay, how has my outlook on life changed? Have I become softer as a mother? Has becoming a mother changed your tough shell? Yeah, definitely. I've become so much softer, and my entire outlook on life has changed. Like if you have kids, you know, like just everything is different and nothing is the same. Nothing will ever be the same. All the priorities change, and yeah, everything has changed, and it's hard to put into words. I guess you'll know when you get there. When and how will you introduce solids to Griffin? I introduced solids to him whenever he was around 8 months old. So he was exclusively breastfed until then. And the first food I ever gave him was avocado. I let him like play with it and eat it, and it was a huge mess. And I was pretty turned off of baby-led weaning after that first experience. And after that, I just fed him off my plate, let him grab what he wanted off my plate, or fed him with my fork off my plate, whatever I was eating. I was pretty comfortable with him eating anything except for like maybe grapes or blueberries or nuts or stuff that I thought that he could choke on whenever he was smaller, but he's 15 months now and he eats everything, obviously. Well, not obviously, but yeah, I'm not cautious about him choking or anything. He figures it out. If it's something that is more, choke prone, he just keeps it in his mouth longer and chews it up and hangs out with it for a while. I don't know, he knows what he's doing, I feel like. So hopefully that answers the question. Okay, postpartum bleeding. This woman couldn't get behind the thought of using adult diapers. Yeah, neither could I, honestly. I just had a bunch of towels at home, and I free bled, meaning I didn't use anything. I didn't wear pads or underwear or Depends or anything. I just stayed in bed, and I had a towel under me or a face cloth in between my legs or something like that. We had a lot of cloth diapers at the time for Griffin, and they come with like these cotton inserts. They're super absorbent. Sometimes I would use them for everything, like catching like excess breast milk, bleeding. I would put them underneath Griffin's butt whenever he was naked and let him hang like that. So we use those a lot. They're called pre-folds. They were the newborn size pre-folds, and Green Mountain makes them. You can get them on Amazon, and you can use them for cleaning around the house. They're super versatile. So yeah, I just free bled on. It really forced me to stay in bed. And I would just like grab a towel with me if I walked to the bathroom, so I wouldn't bleed on the floor. But it was, that's what I'm gonna do for this next one too. Okay. Painful sex after birth. The woman that wrote to me, she was wondering when I started having sex after birth, and was it painful, and then was it still painful? And this was like around 3 months postpartum that I did this Q&A, that I collected these questions. And because she was having a lot of pain, she was stitched. She gave birth in a hospital and was stitched, and I wasn't. I also tore in 3 spots, and I did not get any stitches because I really think that they cause more problems than do good. I had friends, even had home birth midwives stitch them up, and they got infections from the stitches. They ended up getting stitches where they weren't even torn. I don't know if anybody has ever heard of the husband stitch, but a lot of doctors and midwives do it, and most of the time the woman doesn't even know she's received it until like later on when she starts experiencing things like painful sex and a lot of scar tissue down there. So I think that's what happened with her, not just from the one, this one question, but she's a friend of mine and we spoke often about it. Anyways, I had sex maybe at around 3.5 weeks postpartum for the first time, just like really gentle, obviously nothing crazy, and it didn't feel good. So I stopped and I waited another week or 2 maybe, and then I was fine. But so if you can avoid getting stitches, then definitely do research and look into that option. The tissue around the perineum, it's like, or the vulva, it's like the inside of your mouth. So it heals so fast. and so effectively. Like imagine getting a stitch or a split lip, you know, like you wouldn't stitch it, it just heals so fast. Anything inside your mouth, it's the same thing. If you can stay resting and lying down, keep your legs closed. And there's different things too that you can use. Like I used Manuka honey, different things. Some women use like seaweed. I just used some Manuka honey, and I took other supplements like sunflower lecithin, I think that's how you pronounce it, papaya enzymes, and then I was eating really supportive foods also for healing. But yeah, anyways, I think that skin is meant to stretch, meant to tear, and meant to heal. If just left alone, it heals really strong. Okay, heavy lifting so soon without prolapse, question mark. Yeah, if I didn't feel like things were where they were supposed to be, or if I didn't feel good lifting heavy, I wouldn't have, you know, I would have. And I also got questions about incontinence or leaking during heavy lifting postpartum. This woman was experiencing this at 16 weeks postpartum. I didn't experience it, but there's so many qualified pelvic floor physical therapists these days. It's such a big business, probably because there's so much fucking birth trauma. There's so much coach pushing, and there's so much women getting out of bed and bouncing back and starting to do stuff right after birth, not resting properly. It's probably why it's needed. Anyways, but yeah, it's super common, and that's what you would do. That's what I would do if I was experiencing that. I would reach out to a pelvic floor physical therapist if I wanted help with it. If it didn't bother me, then yeah. I mean, sometimes like I pee a little bit when I deadlift. Like going back 10 years, you know? I don't know. It never bothered me, and I never like actually peed while deadlifting. It's kind of the same thing with sneezing. Like once in a while, like pee a little bit when I sneeze, but not anything ever enough to make me want to have somebody else stick their fingers inside my vagina. It's fine with me, and it's not a frequent thing. So, but if it's something that was really bothering you, obviously, yeah, go do it. Hardest thing, and this is all obviously like I don't have, you know, I shouldn't have to fucking say that, it's my own fucking channel, but yeah, this is all just my experience and stuff that I've found through research around birth and postpartum. So I'm not trying to give anybody medical advice, you know. But yeah, I shouldn't even have to say that, but whatever. Okay, what was the hardest thing getting back into lifting postpartum? Definitely just finding the time and having somebody hold my baby, or just having a baby and not being able to put them down, constantly nursing them every 30 minutes. That was super hard. I had a garage gym for the first 6 months postpartum before I moved, and I had a swing in there, and I would have Griffin in the swing or kind of sitting up in a bobby pillow or something, and that helped. I was able to get a set in here and there. I was able to run with the stroller. That's not a lifting thing, but it was super. That was definitely the biggest challenge, was just the childcare thing. And then whenever he was a little bit older and I was back down here in San Diego and at the gym, I felt more comfortable having people at the gym hold him while I worked out or wear him. And that's what I do now, and it's great. But whenever he was really small and he never was with a babysitter, it was really hard to find the time to do that. How has my body responded to postpartum lifting? I mean, the same that it's the same, period. It did feel like I was starting from scratch again. I was so soft, you know, and like I laid in bed for a month. So when I first got back into it, it felt like I was starting from scratch again, but it quickly came back. And then it just feels like normal. I also got a lot of questions on obtaining a birth certificate after having a free birth. What was the hardest part? I'm gonna make a video on that, just so that I can direct people directly to it whenever they ask me. Do you plan to homeschool? Yes, I plan to homeschool. Would I use formula if I couldn't breastfeed? I would probably use donated breast milk, definitely. If I couldn't breastfeed, I wouldn't use formula. there's huge communities for breast milk donators, and it's amazing in every city. So there's resources out there, there's milk banks, there's people who have oversupplies, and after 3 or 4 months old, let's say I couldn't get any breast milk, which I could, even if I had to drive 5 or 6 hours to, you know, pick up hundreds of ounces, like I would make it happen. I mean, you can ship it, you know, frozen and stuff. So yeah, but I would probably also feel comfortable using raw goat's milk from maybe 4 months on. I think it's a lot cleaner than formula. But yeah, obviously nothing beats breast milk. Okay, how's my body image changed postpartum and mental health? Well, I'm definitely a lot less mentally stable now that I have a baby. It is super hard and super challenging, and I lose my temper a lot, and I cry a lot, and it's really, really, really hard. It's really hard. And then, but my body image, I feel like I haven't even had time to think about that. You know, it's just been go, go, go. But I mean, yeah, it hasn't really changed. I respect my body a lot more because it's, you know, grown, birthed, and fed a baby. So, but I still want to look good, you know, just like I always have. And that's important to me. And whenever I started doing cardio and lifting postpartum, I lost the weight, and I think it had to do with just breastfeeding constantly. I lost any extra weight really fast, and that made me feel really good, that I felt comfortable to like work out in a sports bra and little shorts, and I felt good about my body, and that was a nice feeling because I was not getting out of the house a lot. I was constantly nursing all day, all night. Everything was about Griffin, and so when I looked in the mirror and felt like good because of the way I looked, that was a nice feeling. So maybe that answers the question. Okay, I think that's it for the questions. Yep, that's it for the questions. So I'm off Instagram, and you guys can post more questions if you'd like in the comments down below, and then maybe in a few I'll compile them and I'll do another one of these. So short update for anybody wondering about this pregnancy and this next birth. Yeah, I plan to film the birth. A lot of people have asked me that. I haven't seen a doctor. I'm 22 weeks pregnant. I haven't seen a doctor, and I don't plan to. I haven't gotten any ultrasounds. I did a blood test on myself at home at 8 weeks to find out the gender, and I did the same thing with Griffin. It was confirmed with an ultrasound with Griffin, but I don't plan to get any ultrasounds with this baby. So yeah, we're having a boy, and I'm really excited. I don't have to buy anything new. We have everything here. I'm sure I'll make a video before the birth on, you know, our plans around that, especially now that there's a toddler in the image, in the picture. And so yeah, it's hard to plan what birth is going to look like regardless. But now that there's going to be a small person here, I'm sure I'll make another video about that sometime later. But you guys can ask me questions about nursing while pregnant, night weaning, co-sleeping. Yeah, it's all stuff that we're navigating. Griffin is actually napping in a crib right now. I never thought this would happen. So he's like latched onto a little bottle. That's a wilderness nest with the matching blanket, by the way, in a crib. And so I bought a crib last Friday after having like one of the worst nights ever. I woke up so desperate for some kind of nighttime support, and I bought a crib off Facebook Marketplace, and so now it's like part crib sleeping, part co-sleeping, and yeah, things are changing. So I'd be happy to share more about that later. And also my husband has been a lot more involved and taking shifts so that I can get some more rest. Anyways, it's good to be back, and I'll see you guys soon.